Okay, so now we are here for Love in Paradise, which is such an odd title. I have a feeling this is Calypso. I have a feeling we're just apparently gonna leave off Telemachus there, and I'm apparently gonna potentially have to stand by my statement of why did we even bother going back to Ithaca? We might as well have just skipped to Calypso, I don't know. But I would guess Love in Paradise is going to be about Calypso. It just sounds like a title that would be about her and her holding Odysseus hostage for 7 years. And look, I'm officially gonna brace myself, and it's not just because I... Are you enjoying yourself?
Are you proud of yourself for all the noise you're making with that ball? Are you proud of yourself? Yeah, you pleased? You pleased? Oh, you so proud of yourself.
I'm bracing myself mostly because, not just that, like, I haven't had a good time in Wisdom Saga thus far, but it's also because Calypso as a character is one that sets me a little on edge. I'll be totally real. She's a prime example of, I mean, kidnapping, you could argue narcissistic abuse, because she constantly doesn't care that Odysseus tells her no, and I don't want to, and I want to go home for 7 years. So, I'm braced. I am braced. And this is no, and I'm putting this out here now because that is no fault of Jorge's, that is the character. And so I'm like on edge because she's a character that sets me on edge. And so, again, in this case, if I'm hypercritical of Calypso, it probably has nothing to do with Jorge. It'll have everything to do with just that character and her actions, which upset me deeply because I don't stand by that kind of behavior. And anybody who's saying, well, if the roles were reversed, I'm like, if it were a man holding a woman hostage for 7 years, I would have the very same attitude. So let's just make this clear. It's just an attitude I have with the character. She's not my fave. She's not high on my I like this character list. Let's talk about Calypso. Calypso is a daughter of the Titan Atlas. Atlas, who's very famous in mythology for holding the world up, like, kind of on his shoulders. And the reason that he has that punishment is because of siding with the Titans during what is known as the Titanomachia, which was a battle between the Olympians and the Titans. And I'm sure everybody goes, well, duh, obviously sided with the Titans. Well, not necessarily. Not all of the Titans sided with the other Titans. Plenty of them sided with the Olympians. Prometheus, ironically, even though he ended up punished later, and his brother Epimetheus, characters like Metis and Themis and Rhea and lots of others did not side with Kronos. So plenty of the Titans were fighting their siblings, basically, and their fellows in the Titanomachia. Atlas, however, sided with the Titans, and the Titans lost, and so his punishment was to go hold up the sky on his shoulders. And Atlas is also the father of numerous other kind of nymphs who appear in mythology, whether it be the nymphs who are in the Garden of the Hesperides, and plenty of others.
Welcome to Editing Mad. Yes, excuse my hair towel, my hair is wet. So this whole bit, I had initially said a lot more about Calypso, and I realized I was like, wait a minute, now that I'm thinking about it, where exactly did I find this story about Calypso? Because a lot of the question is, why is she on Ogygia, or Ogygia, with this island that she's on? And I had always been under the belief that she was kind of stuck there. Now, that is not specifically stated in Homer. In fact, there's no known ancient source we can turn to that specifically says Calypso is banished to Ogygia, that she's stuck on Ogygia, that she can't leave Ogygia. But it is noted that she can obscure the island somehow, and that she in general doesn't leave. But what's also interesting, as much as we can't nail down any kind of ancient source that specifically gives us this is what happens, you find stuff from post-Homer, still kind of in the ancient-ish world, where they talk as if Calypso cannot leave the island, or that she somehow is forced to be there. Let me put it this way, since I'm not going to go on about it in the previous recording, which is that if we operate under the assumption that Calypso is forced to stay on Ogygia, it is likely because she sided with her father during the Titanomachia, and because the Titans lost, she was punished for deliberately siding with her father, who had also sided with the Titans. And this is likely her punishment. But beyond that, we just know that she's on Ogygia and she just doesn't leave. Like, for some reason, unknown to us, she never leaves.
So now we'll get into Love in Paradise.
Oh, this is Athena.
Old friend, it's been 10 years since I last saw you.
Remember me.
Nice callback.
The infamous
To dumbest moment.
Let's see where you've been.
So we're acting like Athena doesn't know. Ah, yeah, so another big contrast, if you will, with the Odyssey. Athena pretty much helps open the Odyssey, and she tells us exactly where Odysseus has been. She has known this whole time, and she is obviously then the one who says, "Daddy, please let him go," and Zeus is like, "Of course, my favorite daughter." Yeah, again, I think this whole arc, if we'll call it that, this storyline with Athena has been to explain away her absence. I'd argue if you hadn't introduced her in the first place, you wouldn't have to, but again, I oftentimes will spitball and throw things out there, but even I'm not entirely sure where the rest of that thought goes, so take a lot of what I say in that regard with a grain of salt.
Ruthlessness is mercy upon us. Song of past romance, I see the wind won't take more suffering from you. Drown in your sorrow and fears.
Captain,
Haha.
I have to see her. But we'll die.
Duh.
I know.
Kabumi goes the thunderbolt.
Odysseus, where did you go?
Yeah, wow, we're definitely making it so she has no idea. It's like, Odysseus, where did he go? Well, Athena knows the whole time where he's been. It begs really the question, where has Athena been all this time? Because if we're going to imply that she has no idea what's going on, then where has Athena been all this while? Question I have to pose to the narrative if you're going to play it this way. Ah, clock is gone, so we're out of Athena.
Morning, sleepyhead, you've been resting for a while. I swore that you were dead when you washed up on my aisle. Did you know you talk in your sleep? Tell me though, who's Penelope?
She's my wife.
Alright, I have to ask the question. Is this being sent then as a flashback to when Odysseus first washed up on Calypso's island? In which case, alright, I think you made your job harder for yourself playing with time in this way. Maybe relaying it out in a linear fashion did not help. I would have thought you could just flash to how he's feeling in this moment on Calypso's island, like really show essentially the despair that he's been stuck here for 7 years. But it seems with the way we transitioned with the clock ticking and how we started with Athena, this is meant to be a flashback to basically 7 years prior when Odysseus washed up on the island.
It's a choice.
I think it would be more emotional if you did it when Odysseus has been there for 7 years, because really seeing the effect that has on Odysseus is like where the emotional tragedy of the situation really hits. Because again, in the Odyssey, when Athena talks about Odysseus and she's explaining his situation, saying he's been stuck here for 7 years, she goes, Odysseus longs to die. Like he would rather die than stay another day here on Calypso's island. And if we're instead flashing back to when Odysseus has first arrived on Ogygia, then we kind of don't have that, because he hasn't been held hostage there for 7 years yet. I mean, we'll get to see some of the absolute, I guess, insanity that is Calypso, but it's a choice.
Anyways, I've
Yeah.
got all you could want
the
here, all
narcissism.
you could need here, just you and me, my dear, my love for life. Soon into bed we'll climb and spend our time.
I'm not your man.
I'm what you want here, I'm what you need here, just you.
My other thing is that if this is supposed to be flashing back 7 years to when he has first arrived really on Ogygia, he sounds awfully not injured, and we haven't explained where his injury went. Let's not forget he got stabbed in the back. And I was like, that's a serious injury. Like that alone could kill him, and we haven't explained that away. This is again where I will make my statement. Maybe we, instead of flashing to when he first kind of arrived on the island, should be at where is he at now, 7 years later.
And me, my love in paradise, now till the end of time. From here on out, you're mine, all
Hell
mine.
no, I could kill you where you stand. I'm no pet, I'm a married man.
Oh, handsome, you may try, but last
Taking that level of aggression with this person who's essentially their home, this is their island, this is a real departure, because Odysseus would know better. He should have by this point learned his lesson that you have to play the game. Now I get we're doing the whole he's more ruthless and whatever now. It's like there's a difference between ruthlessness and recklessness. What he's doing is reckless. And I think the musical has blurred that line in a way that, yeah, as much as I'll sit here and be pedantic and argue semantics, I do think that's a slight issue. Me personally. He should be trying to placate her first, as opposed to coming right in with aggression, which sounds like I'm victim blaming, but I don't want to be. Whatever, we'll continue.
I checked. Goddesses can't die.
Goddess.
You're adorable. Bow down now to the immortal Calypso, here to entertain. But fear not, I bring no pain. Cause we got all we could want here, all we could need here. Under my spell, we're stuck in paradise. No one can come or go. My island stays unknown.
No, I don't belong here. There's something wrong here. I won't be drawn to love in paradise. Not till the end of time. There is no way.
You're mine, all mine.
7 years she's kept you trapped out of your control.
Yeah.
Time can take a heavy toll.
Oh, are we now seeing where he's at?
All
Ah!
I hear are screams.
Odie, get away from the ledge.
You don't know what I've gone through. You don't know what I've sacrificed. Every comrade I long knew. Every friend, I saw them die. And all I hear are
It will be fine, dear.
screams.
Come back inside, dear. Love of my life, come back
Let
to
me close
paradise.
my
I know your life's been
Okay, so this is meant to be like, oh, look how traumatized he is. Interesting we're not talking about Penelope more, because he should be like, I just want to go home. And what he's saying here in the like, you don't know what I've seen, you don't know this, I'm like, again, let's note she was on the front lines of the Titanomachia. She's, again, seen shit that he can't imagine. Not that it matters, but I think maybe in here, let's have him say something like, it's not just that I've seen my comrades dead, it's like, he can feel like maybe it's his fault. Like, if we're trying to lean into the idea that he feels responsible for this, then have him say lines like, it's my fault. Again, whether or not I agree with that sentiment or the like is almost not important here, because we're talking about how he feels. And this idea that Jorge is trying to get across that he feels he's making a descent into a person he doesn't know or recognize. I get spitballing. Again, interesting way to play with time and do all this. I suppose just to do an introduction for Calypso for people who don't know her. I'd argue you don't have to go back in time to be able to do that well, but again, that's just me disagreeing with the creative choice, and that's not me saying like, how dare you do it that way. That's just me saying, I would prefer we not do that, but sure, why not? And we are getting a bit of the step away from the ledge. We are seeing a bit of his, like, more erase myself out of the narrative tendencies. I'm just surprised we have not really mentioned how much he longs to get home. Instead, he's still looking back. Turn it forward. Because he should still, even when he's having these issues, be always forward-gazing. That's very much how Odysseus is. He's very forward-gazing.
hard. I'll stay inside of your heart.
All I hear are
I love
screams.
you, my dear. I love our time here. Life would be so much
Just
worse
let
if
me
you
close
had
my
died. Please take
Or maybe even talking about, sorry, I'm sitting here thinking, well, listening to this of him saying like, would my wife even recognize me when I get home? What about my wife? What about something? It's like, he knows nothing about what's going on there. I am so surprised that we took the time to go to Ithaca, and yet he's not talking about Ithaca in any way, like trying to wonder what's going on there. Like, he knows his mom has died, but he knows nothing else. I'm just very surprised that when we're, again, this is the story of Odysseus wanting to go home, like that is the goal, that he's not talking about it at all. That he's not wondering about it. If we're in, I would assume this is supposed to be probably year 7.
away from harm. Stay in my open arms.
You can go higher?
He needs my help.
Is that it? He just says Athena? Huh. Him just calling out Athena. How about Athena, I'm sorry. Athena, you were right. Athena, something. Like, just calling out her name is like, I get it, but bro, you owe her an apology. I'm just saying. Like, he owes Athena a massive I'm sorry. And if we want to do the whole, like, they've had a breakup and she's coming back, him saying I'm sorry would do a lot. I mean, I get that Odysseus like doesn't know how to apologize because he never thinks he's fucking wrong, which would again speak to, at this point, has he learned anything? No, he hasn't. He hasn't changed in the slightest. He's still not apologizing for anything he's done. Actually, even talking about all these men he's lost, he never says it's his fault, which is what the musical seems to be trying to imply that he's potentially thinking or he's feeling guilt over. Usually if you feel guilt, it's because you feel a sense of fault or blame. But he hasn't talked about that really with his comrades. And sure, yeah, I roll my eyes at hearing the open arms bit again. I kind of guessed we were going to bring it back, especially because you have Calypso say, come into my open arms, which I would again argue ties into the idea that the open arms is a bad policy. Like, it's sort of a falsity in this world. It's something that can't work, because after all, we're not going to have it work out with Calypso. It's never going to happen. I did like Odysseus going up. Ooh, it seemed like he was really stretching his range. He sounded a little strained up there. But if you're having him in a moment of despair, that's not me criticizing Jorge's singing in any way. I actually think emotionally it's suited, but it did sound a bit strange, like he was pushing the edge of his range. And that's high when you're trying to do it up in chest and throat. Like, that's rough. Yeah, okay. Pretty much to just say, where have you been? He's been on Calypso's island. We see his despair. Again, I still will stand by the belief that I think he should be talking a bit more like, I so desperately want to get home, and he should be wondering what's going on at home, because that would, again, go into this big, like, trauma tornado that we're putting him in, if you will, and how past, present, and this anxiety over the future are all warping together. Yeah, I see what we did with Athena is basically we did everything we did to explain away her absence and why she didn't help him. But again, the heroes do not all like constantly call to gods to help them solve their problems. The gods may give you equipment or things to help assist you, but you are expected to figure things out for yourself. I would again argue you don't need to explain it in general, but I also recognize that I guess a modern audience could potentially be confused as to why she's not helping him. But I would also say, like, is it so improbable for a modern audience to believe that a goddess does not have other things that she's doing besides just focusing on one guy? Like, he is one of many things going on in this world. Which again is, I argue that I can totally understand there are audiences who come to this musical and have zero base on the Odyssey, like no baseline, have never read it, maybe have never even heard of it. I mean, look, I remember seeing Twitter when it was announced that Christopher Nolan was doing the Odyssey, and there were plenty of people who had no idea what the Odyssey was. That's totally fine. I don't, like, look down on people for not knowing what it is. But there is an element of storytelling where take your audience seriously, and you can, to a degree, expect them to not know things. But I think saying that maybe that a audience would not understand that, hey, maybe a goddess is a little busy, like maybe she's got other shit she's dealing with besides just this one dude on the whole of Greece. You think she doesn't have other things to do? And even in 7 years? I think that's almost a little insulting to the audience, saying like they couldn't possibly think that, oh, well, I mean, she's a goddess. She's probably busy. Like, you're not the only person in her existence here. But that's a personal opinion, and this is, again, driving into, I don't love the treatment of Athena specifically, really, in this entire musical, because the treatment of the other gods, Hermes, Poseidon, and Zeus, I think has been fine. In terms of the Olympians, like, I think they've been done really well. So it is sort of like, it's really odd to me that Athena is this oddball out in how she's been treated. But we've nodded to Calypso. We did flashbacks, flash forwards. The next song is God Games. Given the title, I would assume this is where we need to have Athena basically go to Zeus and say, hey, dad, love you, awesome, most divine of girl dads here in the Greek mythos, will you do me a solid? I think it is time we bring Odysseus home, and Zeus is just like, I got you, my girl, my bestest girl, my favorite child, whatever you want. I give you the world. Like, I really cannot emphasize how much Zeus is a girl dad, especially towards Athena. She is, like, again, while I do not think it is explicitly stated in the mythology, she's definitely his favorite child. Like, so far and beyond his favorite child. I also recognize the title God Games because a lot of people in the comments are pretty convinced I will not only hate God Games, but they're pretty ready for me to potentially either, like, have an aneurysm or rage quit at God Games, which says a lot if you guys all thought that Legendary and Little Wolf were not gonna do it. Became real close. So do I brace myself? I guess I brace myself to go into God Games, and how Jorge decides to play ultimate girl dad Zeus when his favorite child Athena comes to say, hey dad, Ithaca's a hot mess. It's time to get Odysseus home. Which I will also mention, I find interesting that she makes this the song at least makes this whole thing about Odysseus and Athena and he needs my help, making it all about Odysseus. Like, yes, he needs her help, but part of this, again, also, she's a goddess. She can zoom out in her perspective and see that Ithaca is also in trouble. So, I mean, if we were going to take the time to flash over to Ithaca and Telemachus and the suitors and see what's happening there, why are we not giving Athena this sort of more godly focus where she can see both the microcosm of Odysseus and what's going on there, but then zoom it out to a not totally macrocosmic, but slightly more macrocosmic view of Ithaca is also in trouble. In a way, Odysseus is emotionally under siege by Calypso. Ithaca and his house is essentially physically under siege by the suitors. So there's sort of a paralleling in a way going on here, which I am really actually surprised the musical didn't mention. Mainly because, like, it's all poetic, it's right there, and the musical has liked drawing parallels between things. I'm sort of surprised we didn't, like, jump at the opportunity to do it here when it's just so clear. And especially if you're gonna take the time to flash to Ithaca and give us basically 3 songs there, we should be mentioning Ithaca here. Maybe in God Games. We'll see.